Welcome everyone. In this video we will learn chemotaxis. What is chemotaxis? Is the ability of bacteria to move towards or away from chemoeffectors. These chemoeffectors are nothing but molecules. Chemical molecules can be of two types. If the bacteria is moving towards the molecules, then these molecules are known as chemoattractants. And if the bacteria is moving away from the molecules, then these molecules are known as repellents. Hence, chemoeffectors can be divided in two groups: chemoattractants and chemorepellents. So the examples of chemoattractants can be glucose, galactose, serine. So when in the environment or the media, these wherever these molecules are present, the cell will move toward them. And if there is presence of alcohol, phenol, then cell will move away from those repellents. Hence the name given attractants and repellents. So to understand how the cell moves toward the attractant and it runs away from the repellent, let's take a look. Let's take a look at run and tumble behavior. So we have to understand first how normally it runs. Cell, how normally it runs and tumbles, and what is run and tumble. So here I will show you what is normal run and tumble behavior of a cell. So for example, you can see here, suppose this is the cell. Okay, this is one cell, and normally what happens, it moves. Suppose it is moving in one direction. Okay, this is the direction it is moving. So now after moving for few seconds in a straight linear path, it will change its direction randomly. Okay, so suppose that random change is in this direction. So now the cell will move in this direction. After few seconds it will change its direction again, and it will move in random direction. Again after some time it will move in different direction. Again it will move in different direction. Okay, so this change in direction, this change in direction is known as tumble. This normal run in straight line is the run. Okay, and this change in direction is known as tumble. So this is the normal run and tumble behavior of a cell. So what happens to this run and tumble behavior when the cell is in the presence of chemoattractant? Okay, so here I am drawing. So suppose this is the cell. Okay, this is the cell. Okay, and now it is moving in this direction. Okay, so in this direction it is moving. Now it is moving in this direction. Now there is a chemoattractant. What happens? It keeps moving in this direction for a long time, and after that it tumbles. Again after moving for a long time it tumbles. Again it tumbles. But now here you can see the frequency of tumbling is less in presence of chemoattractant. Now let's see what happens when the cell is in the presence of chemorepellent. The cell moves in one direction, then it tumbles, then it again tumbles, then again tumbles, then again tumbles. So this is how it is in the presence of repellent. So why? The question is, why does cell tumble? So the answer is that when it is in the presence of chemorepellent, so the cell does not want to be in presence of phenol or alcohol. So it will randomly change its direction in a hope that it will lead to a new direction where there will be no repellent. Okay, so there will be no phenol or alcohol. So it will change the direction. If there is still a phenol and alcohol, then it will again tumble. Okay, so this tumbling might provide a direction where so that cell can swim or run in that direction and there is no repellent. Okay, why in presence of attractant the frequency of tumbling is reduced? Because it is an attractant, so it is beneficial for cell. So by reducing the tumbling frequency, what happens? It can swim for a longer time in presence of attractant. Okay, So that's why cell tumbles. We saw why cell tumbles, but we need to know how exactly it tumbles, what are the changes occur which helps the cell in tumbling. Okay, so let's take example that this bacteria is the E. coli cell. Okay, the E. coli is peritricously flagellated, and these flagella come together, wrap around one another and form a helical bundle. So this each flagella rotates in a left-handed helix, that is in a counter-clockwise rotation. And because each flagella rotates in a counter-clockwise rotation, they form a helical bundle. Okay, and now when the resultant motion of this helical bundle results in forward movement of the cell. Okay, so for this formation of this helical bundle, each flagella has to rotate in a counterclockwise manner. Okay, if even one flagella rotates in a clockwise manner. Okay, so suppose this flagellum is rotating in a clockwise manner. So what happens? This bundle is no longer in a bundle form. These flagella separates from each other. Okay, so if one of the flagellum rotates in a clockwise manner, then they separate from each other and there is no coordinated flagella movement. And that's why, because there is no coordinated movement, the cell does not move forward, but it erratically moves in its place. Okay, so because of the movement, it can change its direction to this side or to this side. Okay, so let's take example. It has changed its direction to this side. It has oriented itself in this side. Okay, in this direction. So now the cell is oriented like this, and this counterclockwise motion is just for fraction of seconds. Again, that flagella returns to its original movement, that is counterclockwise rotation. Okay, and because now this flagella also rotates in a counterclockwise motion, all the flagella come together and form a helical bundle, and because of which now the cell is propelled in a forward motion. So now first previously the cell was moving in this direction and now it is moving in this direction. So this is known as tumbling. It has changed its direction, and this tumbling is very random. It is not that it will always be in this direction. This cell can orient itself in any direction, and then cell can move in that direction only. Okay, so this is how we know that when there is no counterclockwise rotation of any of the flagella, then there will be a tumbling. So repellents cause flagellar motor to reverse. This flagella rotates because of the flagellar motor which is in the cell membrane. So when there is a repellent in the media, it gives the signal to cell, and the motor which is rotating in counterclockwise manner, which is a default rotation manner, that cell changes, and that changes and it rotates now in clockwise manner because of the repellents. Okay, so there will be increased tumbling. So when there are repellents, there will be more tumbling than the normal run and tumbling frequency. Okay, so normally also cell tumbles, but when there is a repellent present in the media, the frequency of tumbling will be increased. Okay, and when there is attractant, what does it do? It decreases the frequency of reversal of the motor. That is, it does not allow the flagella to rotate in a clockwise manner. So it allows flagella to rotate in a counterclockwise manner, and hence it does not tumble much, and it can swim or run in the same direction for longer time. Okay, so now we know why cell tumbles, okay, and how it tumbles. But the important question is, what causes the flagella to rotate in clockwise manner? Because default rotation is counterclockwise rotation. So what changes the rotation of flagellar motor so that it tumbles? So let's see. For that, there is a signaling system involved which senses the presence of attractant or repellent and sends the signal to the cell, and the cell accordingly tumbles, or frequency of tumbling increases or it decreases depending upon presence of attractant or repellent in the media. So let's see what is chemotaxis signaling system. The chemotaxis signaling system is a two-component system. For detailed mechanism of two-component system, you can refer to my previous videos. What two-component system is made up of is basically a histidine kinase protein and response regulator, and additionally some phosphatase proteins. So we will see for chemotaxis what are the proteins required. Okay, so apart from the two-component proteins, that is the two-component system proteins, there are additional proteins which are involved in chemotaxis. So let's see. First protein is MCPs. So what are MCPs? We will see in detail. These are in the cell membrane. And then there are cytoplasmic proteins. Okay, this is membrane protein and these are the cytoplasmic proteins. These are key proteins. CHE, key proteins. So first see key A. This key A is a histidine kinase, and key B and key Y are response regulators. So this histidine kinase will take the signal and it will phosphorylate the response regulator, and this response regulators are responsible for effect. So whatever the tumbling is due to response regulator protein, we will see in detail which response regulator is involved. This key Z is a phosphatase which dephosphorylates the phosphorylated response regulator protein. Key W is a linker protein. It links the MCPs and key A protein histidine kinase, because the signal will come to MCPs and it will be passed to the key A protein with the help of key W. Hence it is linker protein. And key R protein. So let's see function of each of the proteins in detail. So first we will see cytoplasmic protein. The key A, when it gets phosphorylated, it can phosphorylate key Y and key B, that is response regulator proteins. So one of the response regulator is key Y. When it is phosphorylated, it causes the rotation of flagellar motor switch in clockwise manner. So now we know what is responsible for clockwise rotation of a flagella. This key Y response regulator in its phosphorylated form goes and binds to a motor switch of flagella and causes it to rotate in a clockwise manner instead of counterclockwise manner, and hence the tumbling can be seen. Okay, also one of the property is that it is autophosphatase. It has autophosphatase activity, which means it can auto dephosphorylate itself. Okay, now next protein is a key Z protein. It is a protein when it is in it can dephosphorylate key Y P, that is phosphorylate. It can dephosphorylate active response regulator. So it is also a allosteric effector of key Y P, which means this key Y P, when it is an active form, we know that it is a auto dephosphorylate. It can carry out autophosphatase activity, which means it can remove its phosphate itself. So this key Z, when it binds to this protein, it increases that activity also. So it is an allosteric effector of that. Also it separately dephosphorylates the key Y P phosphoryl group from key Y P protein. Okay, so this enhances the rate of dephosphorylation of this response regulator. Next protein is key Y B. It is a response regulator, and when it is in active form, that is in phosphorylated form, it acts as a methyl esterase, which means it has the ability to remove methyl group form from MCPs, that is those membrane proteins which receives the signal MCP proteins. Okay, so we will see when it gets methylated and how key B demethylates the MCP. Next is key R protein. When this protein is a methyl transferase, it has a methyl transferase activity, which means it can add methyl group to MCPs, that is to receptor proteins. Okay, so these two proteins we will see in detail when we will see the signaling system mechanism. Key W, it links the MCP and key A protein. We know already. So now let's take a look at a membrane proteins. So only one membrane protein is there, that is only one type of membrane protein is there, that is methyl accepting chemotaxis protein, hence the name MCPs. That is the full form of MCPs. These are chemoreceptors, which means the chemo effectors, whatever the chemo effectors will be there in the environment will be detected by these MCPs, and they are present in cell membrane. They are also known as receptor transducer protein or only transducer protein. These MCPs have two domains. One is periplasmic domain and another is cytoplasmic domain. In the periplasm, whatever the chemo effectors will be there, this periplasmic domain will interact with those chemo effectors, and in the cell there will be cytoplasmic key proteins. So the cytoplasmic domain will interact with, especially with key W and key A proteins. This key A is histidine kinase. So when the MCP interacts with key A, it makes it active. Okay. Also, the very interesting fact about cytoplasmic domain of MCP is that it has 4 to 5 glutamate residues which can be methylated or demethylated with the help of key B and key R proteins. So we will see how these methylation and demethylation of MCP is significant in chemotaxis signaling pathway. And as they can methylate and demethylate these proteins, hence they are named as methyl accepting chemotaxis proteins. Okay. So in E. coli, if we go to see, there are 4 types of MCPs. Okay. TSR stands for taxis to serine and away from repellents, which means if in media, if there is a serine and this serine binds to MCP, the cell will move towards the serine. But if there is presence of repellent and it binds to MCP, then the cell will move away from the repellent. Okay, so these 4 are different types. These 4 are types of MCPs which show taxis towards different attractants and repellents. Okay, so the only TSR and TAR show activity for repellents, and all of the 4 show activity for the presence of chemo attractant. These MCPs can be sometimes referred as primary receptors and sometimes as secondary receptors. So we will see what are primary receptor and secondary in detail when we go for detailed explanation of the signaling pathway. Now let's take a look at chemotaxis signaling system, how it works. So I have shown this diagrammatic representation where this green protein is MCP protein, that is methyl accepting chemotaxis protein. This one is a periplasmic domain. This is the periplasm and this is the cytoplasm, and this is cytoplasmic domain. This is key W protein and this is histidine kinase key A. This is a flagella and this is the flagellar motor switch. Okay, and generally this flagella rotates in a counterclockwise manner. Okay, so let's see how bacteria normally behaves, that is in normal run and tumbles. What happens when there is a normal run and tumble? Exactly. So this protein is MCP. When it is bound to nothing, that is no attractant, no repellent, this key A is in active form, which means this histidine kinase is active. So it can autophosphorylate itself. So it takes phosphate from ATP. And now this activated key A can phosphorylate 2 response regulators, that is key Y and key B. So it phosphorylates key Y to key YP. This activated key Y goes to flagellar motor switch. Okay, and it causes this motor switch to rotate in clockwise manner. So because of which what happens? Cell tumbles. So when there is nothing bound in the normal run tumble. Okay, so when this key YP binds here, the cell this flagella rotates in clockwise manner. Okay, but it there is a key Z protein. It is a phosphatase. It dephosphorylates this key YP protein into key Y, and phosphate is removed. Okay. So when this key YP in activated form binds to this flagellar motor switch, it is bound only for a fraction of second, and then this key Z protein removes it. So as soon as it removes, key Z removes the phosphate group from the key Y protein then becomes inactive, and hence it can no longer cause the reversal of this motor rotation. Okay. So this is normally happens. The cell runs for some time, and then this key YP protein goes and binds here for a fraction of second, because then this key Z removes it, and then for long time for some time it runs, that is maximum for 1 second, and then again it tumbles because this key Y protein, activated key Y protein, again goes and binds here. So this is what happens in a normal run and tumble behavior. What if there is a presence of attractant? So let's take example that in the media there is a attractant is present. Okay, so see here I have drawn these attractant molecules in circle, so they will come into periplasm as well. Okay, so if the attractant molecule binds to this MCP protein, okay, now what happens, this binding results in deactivation of this or inactivation of this histidine kinase protein. Okay, so when it binds, this key A protein is no longer active, it becomes inactive, so it cannot autophosphorylate itself, correct? So there will be no key A P protein formation, and when it is inactive, it cannot activate or phosphorylate this key B and key Y protein. So there will be no formation of this key Y P, and if it is not forming key Y P, then there will be no reversal of flagellar motor switch. So hence when there is attractant, there is histidine kinase is inactive, and hence more key YP is not formed. So there will be less tumbling, because whatever the key YP was available from the previous condition, it will be there, but there will be a less amount. So there is a frequency of tumbling will be reduced because of the chemoattractants. I hope it is clear till this. Now you might think that as the MCP protein is bound to chemoattractants, this key A, that is histidine kinase, will always be inactive, and hence there will be very, very less tumbling. Okay, but this is not the case. What happens is that after some time of binding of attractant to MCP, after some time this key R protein, which we know adds it adds methyl group to the MCP. So it starts adding methyl group slowly to the MCP. Okay, so here it will add methyl groups. Because of addition of methyl group, there is a conformational change, and it leads to activation of this key A protein. Okay, so this key A gets activated, so it autophosphorylates itself, and then it can phosphorylate key Y and key B. Okay, so this key Y is phosphorylated now, and it can go and bind to flagellar motor switch, and it can cause its reversal, that is it can it causes the motor switch to rotate in a clockwise manner. So even if there is a attractant bound to the MCP, there is a tumbling, and this is tumbling because of this histidine kinase is active. So this phenomena is known as adaptation, which means this bacteria or this cell has adapted to the concentration of this attractant. So for example, we will say that the concentration was A concentration of chemoattractant was there, and after few seconds or minutes the cell has become adapted to it. So now it will not run smoothly in that concentration of attractant, but now it will tumble more because there is a methylation of this MCP, and because of methylation the key A protein has activated, is in active state, and it got autophosphorylated, and it has phosphorylated key Y protein, and this key YP binds to motor switch and causes clockwise rotation of the flagella, and hence there is a tumbling. So again the frequency of tumbling increased even if there is a attractant present in the environment or the media, and even if this MCP is bound to the attractant. So this is adaptation. So the cell adapts to a particular concentration of attractant after some period of time. And now if the cell tumbles and goes in a higher concentration of attractant, okay, so for example, suppose there is A plus concentration of attractants, okay, so there will be more attractants, and in the here in the periplasm also there will be more attractants, okay, so more and more attractants will come and they will bind to MCP protein. So now what happens that because of the binding of the MCP protein, because of the binding of attractants to MCP, the key A protein again becomes inactive, okay, so it becomes inactive, and there will be no autophosphorylation, okay, and hence there will be no key YP formation, okay, so again it becomes inactive. So there is a very important protein, we know it as a key B. So when this key A is active, it demethylates this MCP protein, okay, so this key B P demethylates this MCP when the key A is active, because there is a phosphorylation of key B, and the more and more key B P is formed and it demethylates this protein. But now as the attractant is bound, this key A is become inactive. So in inactive form, it will not form any key YP or key BP. So there will be less demethylation and more methylation due to key R activity, okay, because there will be less key B, because the histidine kinase is not available to phosphorylate this key B. So the rate of demethylation will be less than the rate of methylation. So it will again get methylated, okay, and because of methylation, you know what happens, this key A becomes active, and now it can produce key YP and key BP. It can phosphorylate these response regulators, and now this key YP will go and again cause tumbling because of the reversal rotation of the motor switch. So now what happened, it has become adapted to this A plus concentration as well. So now it is not effective, this concentration of attractant is not effective in causing the smooth running, but now it is, even in the presence of attractant, it is causing the more and more tumbling. So let's see what happens if the cell tumbles and moves in a direction where there is no attractant or very less concentration of attractant. So suppose these attractants are not there, because in the environment there will be no attractants, so these will diffuse and there is less and less attractant, okay. So if it is not bound to attractant, what will happen, this is highly methylated, okay, and it is in active form, and this active form, it is in active form, so it is making key BP. So this more and more key BP will do what, they will remove this methyl group, okay. Now methyl group is removed, there is no attractant, okay, there is no attractant bound here, and cell normally when it is bound to nothing, this MCP is bound to nothing, it tumbles, it is this key A is active and cell tumbles because of key YP, okay. So when there is no attractant, the key BP will remove the methyl group from here, okay, and if again cell tumbles and goes into area where there is some attractants, okay, so now these attractants are in blue, okay. So when these attractants come, they will bind this MCP. So it is very important to remove these methyl groups from the cytoplasmic domain of MCP for binding of new attractant molecule to the MCP. Okay, so the how it becomes how it becomes, so the less concentration of attractant will only bind here if there is no methyl group. Okay, if it is bound to methyl group, there these attractants will not bind here. So I hope it is clear that the binding of attractants to MCP inhibits the Ki A, and hence there is a smooth swimming because this KYP does not bind here at the motor. And but after some times this binding of attractant causes the Ki-R to methylate this MCP protein, because it is a speciality or the very significant role of Ki-R is that it methylates cytoplasmic domain of MCP only when it is this chemo attractants are bound to the MCP protein. Okay, so because of binding of attractant there is less tumbling, but after some time as the Ki-R adds the methyl group, it becomes, this Ki-A becomes active, and again cell tumbles and becomes adapted to that particular concentration. And as more and more attractants bound, again this Ki-A becomes inactive, but again after some times due to methylation it becomes active, and this is how the cycle goes on. And we know the role of Ki-B, it removes the methyl group, so that when the cell is in the there is no available attractant, or very less concentration of attractant is available, so the cell has to become sensitive again for that concentration. So it removes all the methyl groups, so that the less concentration, when the cell enters the less concentration, all these will be removed, so new molecule will come and it can bind because it is non-methylated now. So the role of Ki-B is very important. So I hope it is clear till this, how chemotaxis occur, how adaptation phenomena occur. Okay, so if there is a repellent, so this, if repellent binds, it increases the formation of KYP and the rotation of flagellar motor switch in a clockwise direction, and hence tumbling increases. Okay, so the repellents work differently. If they bind, they result in increased KYP, formation of increased KYP. Okay, and hence the more tumbling. Okay, I hope it is clear till this, the phenomena of chemotaxis and how the signaling system works.